you're probably cool.
One of your cords fell on the ground by your desk.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
What fell?
that little cord right in front of you.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah, I lost another USB cable. Things are hilariously easy to drop. Thanks. Okay, let's see if that works. We'll get the projector set up here. So, yeah, the plan here is to learn Rust in 8 weeks. That's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. It's a huge, huge pull. And so what you're in for, I know my classes have a reputation probably for being easy. This one's not going to be easy. I just want to get that out in front of you. I decided to throw this open in cinema and just take everybody who thought they might want to give it a try. But to be honest, my goal for this week is to make sure you really want to be here. So there's sort of two things I'm going to focus on today. I want to talk a little bit about sort of what the course expectations and workload and stuff are. Oh, thank you, Reddit. That was really, really useful. Let's, gosh, that's crazy.
Wow.
How do I even get rid of all this? I guess I go to a different screen and try again. That should work, right? Nope. Notifications are
Oh
everywhere.
my gosh.
Okay. I guess I'll click on these one at a time. Well, that's always fun. I have no idea. I'd never have seen that behavior before. I will have to turn off Reddit notifications eventually, obviously.
Spontaneously spawns all of his Reddit notifications.
But yeah, all the Reddit notifications apparently for however long I've been doing Reddit, which, by the way, I'm a 13-year Redditor at this point, so that's saying something. Sorry, that completely blew my entire train of thought. This is just one of those days for this course, I can tell, but we'll try to make it as good as we can. So, the course is going to be run through Slack and a Moodle, which for those of you who've taken any courses from me recently before may have had that same format. I will enroll everybody on the Moodle who's signed up for the class probably sometime tomorrow night. In the meantime, this link is linked through my homepage. This is this link. Really, just paste, thank you. So that link right there is the link to the actual course Moodle. Sorry about the not pretty name. I should probably do something with the DNS somewhere to fix that, but I'm not quite sure the best way to do it. And so, web redirect or something. So that's the place where you'll find all the things we're going to have in the course. In particular, well, there's lots of in particulars, but one of the things in there is a Slack invite that you can't get to until you're signed up on the Moodle. So there again, as soon as I've auto-signed everybody up on the Moodle who's registered, probably sometime tomorrow after registrations have settled down, then you should be able to get on the course Slack and you should be able to use that to chat. It's really, really required, not optional required, but really required that you be on both these things. The announcements and that kind of stuff will all happen over the Slack, and so you need to be prepared to see those. And that's where you'll get help and discussions for the most part. I'm not going to do face-to-face office hours except by appointment in really weird circumstances. I just have too many students, and none of them ever show up for office hours anyway. I've tried that experiment a bunch of times. So, we'll chat on Slack, and if that doesn't work out, then we can find a time to meet and figure your stuff out. Sound good? Okay, so that's the plan for that. So please be ready to do both those things when you get the appropriate email. The other thing that's on there is the syllabus. I want to, as people do, spend a few minutes going over the syllabus, hopefully as few minutes as we can get away with here, but I want to make sure that it's clear what's going on. This part you already know. I'm serious about these prerequisites. If you don't have the equivalent of some pretty solid C, C++, systems programming kind of experience, this language is probably not for you. You know, if you're coming from I know Python pretty good kind of background, well, there's a lot that you're really gonna struggle with.
Match
So I'd really
statements.
encourage you to look through the book and figure out whether you're gonna make it through in that situation. This is the book. I'm gonna spend a lot of time today saying things about the book because I think it's really important. What this class is at the end of the day, really, honestly, is you work through this book on your own in your own time. And you also come in for lectures all the time where we talk about what's in the book. But really, it's a very book-centric course. I don't often teach like that. This book is excellent. Full disclosure, it's written by a friend of mine. But it's absolutely a fantastic book. It's the best book on Rust out there for people learning Rust, coming from a CS background. And so it's not optional to own a copy. You have to have one. You know, you can get it very inexpensively through Amazon, either in paperback form or even cheaper in ebook form. If you have if you don't mind reading on a big screen, the ebook works perfectly well. But how do you get it? You need to have your own copy of this book, and you need to actually then take the second step, which would be to actually read the chapters in the book. It's really super important. And we have a lot of reading in this course. We're talking about 4, maybe 3 chapters a week for the first 5 weeks. We're going to try to get through this whole book in 8 weeks, which means we're reading a lot up front. Your reading skills need to be good, and you need to really read this. You know how normally you can sort of get away with skimming a course textbook and then digging the stuff out of it, you need to do the homework. If you do that in this course, you're going to end up epically lost, I can just promise you. You really need to read it and then probably read it again. And the second time you read it, work through examples on your own and that sort of thing so that you actually see what's going on and how it works. This is a fancy language, Rust is. I'll talk about that in a bit. And people find the learning curve very long for this language. People who learn C++ in a reasonably short period are like, wow, this Rust thing's way harder. So why are we using this terrible language? Well, because the benefits you get for overcoming that learning curve, in my opinion, more than make it pay for itself, but you just need to be prepared that you're going to struggle with this for a while. And you can either struggle with it at the beginning, when we're all struggling with it, and I'm set up to help you, and you're learning things that you'll use in the second part of the course, or you can struggle with it at the end, in which case it's going to be epically terrible, or you can not struggle with it at all, in which case you'll probably frankly fail the course. So that's where we are with this. My grading philosophy is that I really would love to give everyone in the course an A. Typically, I've given almost everyone an A in this class. Having said that, that's because almost everyone has earned an A. I really, this time especially, so this is the 4th time I'm teaching this class in 2 years. And I've decided it's time for a sort of a minor revamp of the course materials and the course structure. I really feel like the students that have been coming out of this class haven't got far enough with the language, haven't got as far, you know, most of them, not all of them obviously, there have been some people who've gotten epically far, but most students coming out haven't got as far in the language as I would like to have them come out in 1 quarter. And so I'm going to really try this time to make sure that the people who get A's in this course, I really feel like I'm comfortable have mastered the language at sort of the level of this book. I would say that if you master this book, you are a solid intermediate to slightly advanced Rust programmer. That's about where I am, by the way. I'm not the best Rust programmer in town. Now that's cheating a little bit because the developers of Rust are mostly in this town. But you know, I want to get you to that level where I am. I'd love it if all y'all showed me things at the end that I didn't understand. I don't think that's true. So I'm really setting the expectations pretty high here. Let's see, get the book, read the book. That's super important. There'll be a lot of homework and a lot of reading. expectation is to have, well, it depends on how many graders I can track down. I'm still looking for graders. We've taken the course before, so if I can track down enough graders to manage this whole mess, then the expectation is to have homework probably every other week. Plus, there's a course project which I'm going to assign starting next week that goes the 7 weeks of the course that I'm going to ask everyone to do. And so that's a major activity that is sort of a big deal. So you're going to be writing a lot of Rust code. This week, I estimated the homework at about 14 hours. That's 3 hours of reading for this week, 3 hours of reading for next week, so that you're ahead, so that you're caught up when we start lectures next week, and about 8 hours probably on the homework assignment I'm about to do that. So that gives you some idea. If you're not prepared to spend sort of 14 hours on this one class over the course of the next 7 days, this probably isn't the right course for you. I know people are busy in the summers. I'm sorry about that. This is a compressed course, which probably shouldn't be compressed. And you're going to have to put in the hours to make things work. So, yeah, no, that's all right. And by the way, yeah, I'm a professor. I lecture, that's what I do. That will put us all to sleep. You'll quit listening to me, I'll quit listening to me, it'll be awful. So please don't hesitate to interrupt at any point with questions, concerns, issues. I'm absolutely happy to turn this into a discussion, and it will be better for everybody if it's a discussion, so please don't hesitate. So, yeah, like I say, probably a minimum of 8 hours a week out of class. More is probably likely. It's just going to be a heavy class. You're going to end up needing to learn a language very fast, and what you do to do that is you spend a lot of time engaging with the language very much. I've learned to the level I know Rust, probably at least a half dozen programming languages, maybe closer to a dozen. And the engagement part is really super important. You can't just read about it, you actually have to work in it. And you can't just read about it, you have to try out what you're reading and see if you understand it that way. I've never seen anybody learn without doing that. One of my best friends in the whole world tends to learn programming languages by implementing them. I wouldn't suggest that for Rust, it's kind of a big language, but I get the approach, and I totally have a lot of respect for it. You gotta engage, it's the way you do it. Yeah, we'll talk about the homework here shortly, yeah.
I noticed that you didn't mention what the book was called and what the author name was, so that we can go and look
Sorry,
at it.
it's on that Moodle page up there. It's in the syllabus. It's called Programming Rust. The authors are Blandy and Orendorff, Jim Blandy and Jason Orendorff. Programming Rust, Fast, Safe Systems Development. That's the full title, but Programming Rust is enough to find it on Amazon. Here, let's just find it on Amazon. Although I'll probably skip more Reddit threads here. This one, yeah, think Smile about Amazon. Sure, go to this page at Smile. I'm a good person. Yeah, this book here. So it's $30 on Amazon for the Kindle, $35 for the paperback, it looks like. Yeah, you really should have this book in the next couple days. Don't wait to get it. Because it's super important. Yeah, so my lectures, sorry, let me back up. Let me run through the syllabus a little bit more. I departed a long ways here, let me finish a little more of it. So we talked about the book, we talked about reading. Oh, by the way, and it's not just the book. The course website also has a bunch of extra materials, links to web-based materials that are really helpful, I think, in understanding what's going on. So you'll have a lot of different sources of information. The most obvious one is there's a sort of an official, there's an official Rust book published by the Rust developers that's sort of the official user's manual of Rust. That's a great book. This book is much, much more complete, has many, many more examples, is much, much clearer about a lot of things. But the Rust book's great, and it's sort of the canonical user manual for the language. So there's also API documentation. You know, the Rust programming language and libraries are all documented in a sort of standard document-y format. There's also a ton of third-party tutorials and stuff. Really, the Rust ecosystem, one of the things that makes it amazing is that it has an extraordinary amount of helpful material for beginners and for intermediates, and it is very friendly for the most part. You're not likely to get anything but happiness out of the people that you ask for help in that community. It's good people, and that's not every programming language out there now or ever. And so take full advantage of that. You really want to sort of leverage all the resources at your disposal. And the reason, of course, is that the Rust community is compensating, right? They have this horrible problem with a language that has a terrible steep learning curve that a lot of people try for an hour or a day or a week and then walk away from because it's too hard. So they're trying to help people over that hump as best they can. And some of those sharp corners are sort of inherent in the approach. I'll talk about Rust's fundamental Faustian bargain here in a bit. And some of them are sort of accidental, and Rust isn't as good at as some languages are at shaving off sharp corners, and that's too bad. But, you know, you mostly get past it. It's mostly a thing that's transitory. If you're a puzzle-solving kind of person, this is a great language to get started with. If you're not, then it can be really, really frustrating. So, I already talked about workload a little bit. I really, really encourage you to work together. That's a fantastic plan, and work together online, work together in person, although I know nobody at Portland State does that. You know, really figure out stuff together. The figuring out part you should absolutely do together. When I ask you to submit individual work, it needs to be your work. It can't be your group's work, right? I want to see everybody write their own code when I ask them to. I want to see everybody, you know, write their own text when I ask them to write text. That's sort of a thing, and I hate to give this speech, but I'm getting really tired. The plagiarism level and just the general cheating level I've experienced in this program has gone way, way up in the past couple of years, and I'm really, really, really done with it, to the point where I'm really thinking about my future as well as yours. Just don't. It's not that complicated to avoid getting me angry about plagiarism. You cite where you get stuff from, right? And you make sure you get places from stuff you're legally and ethically entitled to get it from. And then if you get it from somewhere, tell me where you got it from. That's all you need to do, right? But if you pretend it's yours and I find out about it, then I will give you a 0 on the assignment, and a 0 on the assignment equates to a 0 in the course. I will also refer you to university services for a student conduct code violation, for whatever that's worth, and they'll go through a whole process with you, which won't be very fun. And when you ask me to meet with you to discuss it, I'll be like, no, I don't, you should meet with university services, because that's in their hands now to discuss it. It's not my problem anymore. So that's the situation here. Please don't put me in that position. Please don't put yourselves in that position. Super clear? I'll say it one more time later just to make sure we're super clear, because I'm really, really sick of it. I have tolerance for, I try to have tolerance for everything, and I really understand the reasons why some people do this. It's just not okay. It's just not okay. Please don't. Just please don't. We will definitely not have a midterm or a final in this course. We'll be doing project-based stuff for the most part and homework-based stuff. We may have quizzes. That'll depend on how things go. Again, partly on how many graders I get, partly on sort of how much I feel like everybody's sort of keeping up with the course material. If we have quizzes and you have a DRC accommodation, just don't worry about taking the quiz. We'll just give you a pass on it because I don't have any good way to deal with it. So there you go. Which probably means we probably won't have any quizzes. But we might, and I just don't know. So I'll leave that open. Actually, everything on this syllabus is open. I said that at the top of the syllabus. I should mention it again. I'm telling you how I think the course is going to go today. I reserve the right to change my mind sort of arbitrarily at any time, so sorry if I have to do that. Trying to get the best outcome I can. Course project, like I say, starting next Monday, we'll start talking about the course project. That'll give you 7 weeks, more or less, 6.5 weeks, to do a substantial piece of Rust. Like all these things, like the homework I'm about to talk about today, you need to start on it when it's assigned. I know that's a cliche, and I know nobody ever does it, and I know I didn't do it when I was in school, and if you don't do it in here, it's not gonna work out for you. There's just too much to do. You need to find out early what you're stuck on, and you need to find out early how much work it's really gonna take. I was looking at an article this morning on Wikipedia, which I can highly recommend, about the planning fallacy, which describes all the reasons why people have hypothesized why we're terrible at planning and always underestimate everything. A bunch of those reasons are addressed by getting a start on the project early. So please do get started on the project early, please do get started on the homework early. You know, honestly, the last couple of days before something's due, you can find me mostly unreachable. I'll just be blunt about that because I'll be busy with 1 million people on one hand, and on the other hand, at that point, unless your question is something simple to answer, I'm gonna be like, what's the point? We've got a couple of days. I can't solve all your problems for you the day before the assignment's due. That's not a realistic plan. Make sense? And sorry if this all sounds like kind of a bummer, but I just want to get up front what you're getting into so that everybody can make an intelligent decision before the drop deadline about whether they want to be